fact that they have remained unrecognized or unestablished as a species simply rests on their rarity and other aspects of their reported behavior. They're nocturnal, they're solitary, they're far-ranging, they're very generalized.
From not even believing in the legend of this fabled creature to barely surviving an encounter with the giant bipedal beast, here is how this woman learned the shocking truth about how Bigfoot kills humans. The search for Bigfoot seems to be a never-ending one. For many decades, heck even centuries, those that have come to call the lands in North America home have come to understand that there is this giant, hairy bipedal creature that seems to be roaming around in the woods. Despite the rumors of this creature persisting even back then, when the Native Americans and other tribes ran the Americas, nobody has ever come away with that conclusive evidence that this creature does truly exist. Even today, with all the technology that we have, all we have to show for this creature's existence are either anecdotal accounts that may be too bizarre to believe, or unclear photos and videos that take any credibility away from the stories that have been told about this creature. That said, this hasn't diminished the notion that this creature is truly somewhere out there. Many enthusiasts have ventured off into one of the many woods found in the United States of America and Canada.
I came outside and she was like, "There's something up there watching us." I saw it standing up on the hill. That day I saw Bigfoot.
Hoping to come away with that conclusive proof that the creature truly is out there, making these woods their home. That said, this hasn't stopped the many stories about encounters with this creature from coming out. In fact, many people still to this day claim that not only did they have an encounter with this creature, they sometimes barely survive it. Incredibly, especially as Bigfoot, or the Sasquatch as it is sometimes known, has a reputation for being a gentle, docile giant. But then again, what do we truly know about this seemingly mythical creature? Well, with every encounter, we get more details about this strange creature, and as such, we may eventually need to come to an understanding that an encounter with Bigfoot may be the last thing you see in your life. A day in the mountains of British Columbia. Just look at this lady who just wanted to go on a hike in the scenic landscape found in Vancouver. Considered to be a paradise for any lover of the outdoors, such people would never have believed that they would also encounter this legendary creature as they made their way through the splendid display of nature found in British Columbia. Well, this lady would get way more than she bargained for when she decided that she was going to get a breath of fresh air in the woods in Vancouver back in August of 2019. While she was making her way through Brunswick Mountains, things seemed to be looking normal. As she took in the sights that could be found in such a place, she also ran into other hikers who shared her appreciation for the splendors of nature.
At the dump to admit that the Bigfoot are there. This right here is a photograph that was given to me of a trail cam. This is just maybe a half hour from here.
No harm, no foul. Everyone was nice and cordial as she got deeper into these woods. Before long, she may have even noticed that she wasn't running into any humans. Indeed, she would soon find that she would be alone in such a place. Well, only for a little while, because before long, she would have one of the most extraordinary encounters of her life. OMG! Is that Bigfoot? As the lady continued on with her adventure, she would come to a sudden halt when she ran into something truly unbelievable. When she came to a creek, she was stunned when she spotted this human-like outline that was rapidly making its way with unbelievably massive strides through the trees found nearby. She could not take her eyes off this massive creature with extraordinarily long arms and legs. As it made its way through the thick trees, the lady believed that she had managed to evade being detected by it, but eventually, she would find that this was far from the case. For now, though, the woman decided that it may be best for her to stop and wait so that she can observe this creature even more. You have to understand that at the time of this encounter, our friend here was not a Bigfoot enthusiast. In fact, she would tell you that she didn't even believe in the creature before this shocking encounter in the woods. All she could do was watch in disbelief as the creature seemingly disappeared into the trees. Even as she watched it walk away, she wasn't sure if she was the subject of an elaborate prank. What she saw was just too unbelievable to her. Could Bigfoot actually be real? She had lived in the Vancouver area for a good chunk of her life. Furthermore, she and her family members were avid nature lovers, so they had made their way through the woods in the area many times in her life.
329,000 trail cameras are sold globally each year. So if Bigfoot really exists, you think one of those cameras would have documented the creature by now.
Yet they had never gotten any signs that this legendary creature was actually out there. With that in mind, how was she ever going to explain what she just saw a few moments ago? Good God, Bigfoot must actually be real. Nervous and somewhat frightened, the woman was still not ready to admit that she had actually seen this creature with her bare eyes. That being said, she decided that it may be best to evade the creature that she just saw as best as possible. With that in mind, she decided to go towards what she believed was the opposite direction from this terrifying creature. Once she figured the coast was clear, she pushed on down the path that she was on, and after some time, she decided that she needed to take a break. She was on the verge of going up a steep, slippery incline, and she would need all the strength she could gather before overcoming it. As she prepared for the hike, she would find herself in a situation that she still struggles to come to terms with. Maybe it was her subconscious that told her to stay there and prepare for the next phase of her hike. She wasn't sure. What she does know is that the next few moments would help her dispel some of skepticism towards her belief that Bigfoot truly exists. Well, our friend will get the shock of her life just when she is ready to keep going through the trail. She was just about to push out when she noticed that her water bottle had rolled away from her. Just as she bent to pick it up, she was startled by the sight and sound of a bang, and bits and pieces of the bark of the trees shred through the air like shrapnel. What was even more shocking about the scene was that the entire event was caused by this chunky rock that was hurled right at her. She had only evaded being struck by this rock that was rapidly hurtling towards her because she had bent down to pick up her water bottle at the very last moment. Talk about a close call. The only thing to determine now was what had caused that rock to come at her with such unbelievable force.
He also says we shouldn't believe the Hollywood version of the cuddly, gentle giant. According to some accounts, these creatures can be killers.
There have been cases of Sasquatches going after humans as a food source.
It was such a powerful throw that it actually made the bark of the tree fly off it. Looking for answers, the lady looked up, only to notice that another big rock was coming her way at alarming speeds. Uh-oh. She was clearly under attack now. That was no longer up for debate. In fact, the other thing she was able to determine as she looked at the marks on the tree where these dangerous rocks struck was that whatever was throwing those rocks at her was definitely aiming for her head. At that moment, because of her lack of belief in the existence of Bigfoot, she actually believed that somebody was out there trying to take a hit out on her or something. Looking for some cover, she decided to hide behind the tree. She tried to figure out what had brought this on, or who may even be responsible for such a shocking attack, but in those moments, she must have been flustered to come up short. In fact, all she was able to figure out was that she had left her bag and all her equipment on the other side of the tree. As she tried to reach for her things, she must have been shocked as she had to evade yet another rock that was definitely going for the kill. With that final rock, there was no debate any longer. Someone or something was definitely trying to do her harm. Dare she say it? There was definitely a force out there that was trying to take her life. Frightened out of her wits, the woman decided that all she needed was her backpack, especially because it had her bear mace, her cell phone, and her keys in it. With the backpack in hand, she knew that she had to get the heck out of there. Sure, she was shaken that there was definitely someone or something out there that was trying to kill her, but she was sure that she was better off worrying about this problem from the safety of her home.
My daughters were about 10, 20 feet behind me, and as I turn around, I'm looking straight, and I see the creature on that tree. So what I do is I continue walking closer to try to tell myself, am I seeing a shadow, a tree stump? At that point, I see his head turn.
Still searching for answers in her mind, though, it went to the strange outline that she had seen at the creek not too long ago. Could this be what was responsible for the attack on her life? At the back of her mind, she was still hoping that she was dealing with some pranksters. At least they would have to explain why they were trying to kill her with those massive rocks. While these thoughts ran through her head, she was startled back to the scene when she realized that something was moving in the distance. With all the bravery she could muster, our friend here had no other choice but to face her mysterious attacker. With her bear mace in hand, there was every chance that she wouldn't survive this encounter with this violent stranger. To save herself from this harrowing situation, the woman braced herself behind the tree as she heard the massive creature make its way towards her with such speed and force. It only took a few seconds before it was a few feet away from her. Shaken to her core, she had no other choice but to spray the bear mace. What would come next would shake our friend to her very core. Standing before her and struggling with the mace in its eyes, she was looking at what she assumed to be a male Sasquatch. Hairy and imposing with its black eyes, the only thing more frightening than its mere presence was the piercing screech that it released as it struggled to handle the unforgiving pain it had to endure. Despite being frightened near to death by the scene that was playing out before her, the hiker was able to gather her wits fast enough to realize that this was the time to make her getaway. She did not want to be there when the creature eventually gathered its composure. Even now, as it wailed in pain, the creature was still reaching out for her, hoping to get its massive, ragged hands on her so that she can pay for what she just did to it. Alas, she was able to compose herself well enough to flee from the scene. What a shocking experience, Killer Bigfoot. Even as the hiker fled from the scene, she couldn't quite believe what she had just laid her eyes on. Could there be any way what just happened was real?
So you and the friends were sitting there playing and talking about it, and you all knew it was there? Did you all know it was a Bigfoot?
No.
Did she actually run into the legendary Bigfoot? Is she actually running away from the legendary Bigfoot because it had just tried to smash her head in with some massive rocks? These must have been the thoughts that were racing through her frazzled mind as she tried to create as much distance from this massive creature as she possibly could. She wasn't even sure if that was possible, because she was certain that it was nigh impossible to outrun the legendary Bigfoot. After some time, she was happy with the distance that she had been able to keep from the creature. It was not an easy task. She had run harder and further than she ever had in her life, and that was saying a lot, as she was an active person. Even though she tried to slow down as she approached one of the creeks in the area, she could still feel her adrenaline pumping hard and fast. After some time, she even started to convince herself that she must be safe. Unfortunately, that was far from the truth. Once she finally gathered her wits, the hiker did all she could to pick up a signal with her phone. It must have been annoying because she was in such a remote area of these woods that there was very little chance that she would get a decent signal read. Somehow, as she concentrated on picking up this signal, maybe it was a sixth sense or something, but somehow she was able to hear the slapping sound that came from behind her. Frightened, she turned around to find that one of her trekking poles, one of the many things that she left behind when she fled the scene with the volatile Sasquatch thrashing around with pepper spray in its eyes, was now sticking up at a weird angle in the dirt walls on the trail. Did this Bigfoot actually hurl that trekking pole at her like it was some sort of spear or javelin?
I'm the first one that points to it, and I say, hey, look, it's up there. Bigfoot's coming down right now. And, we knew that Sasquatch area, you could tell it was bigger than it looked.
Shocked to her core, the hiker scanned the area to see if she could find the Bigfoot. Perhaps it was the fear or the adrenaline that had built up in her, but something told her that she couldn't scan the area for long. Before she knew it, she hightailed it out of there before she could lay her eyes on the Sasquatch. With all the strength and speed that she had in her, our hiker ran as hard and fast as she could. Even in this moment, though, she knew that she was going to have to pull in one hell of a shift to get out of there because of how fast and powerful this creature was. It was so fast that even in such a moment, she knew that she was lucky that she was running down a slope. Had it been the other way around and she had to run up an incline, we may never have heard this story. Well, she couldn't worry about that in those moments. What she had to worry about was the raging creature that was racing after her, drawing closer and closer to her with every angry step that it took within its long strides. Hoping to create some more distance, the hiker sprayed its mace at the Sasquatch again. As expected, this was another source of rage for the creature as it struggled with the pain from the pepper spray. Despite the fear and horror that such a reaction triggered, the hiker had to do all she could to get away from this horrific scene. All she could do was focus on getting out of there, so she ran as hard as possible for as long as possible. It must have taken forever to get out of the way of this creature, but eventually our hiker found that she had made it down the trail she was on. Frightened and shaken, the hiker was spent. She had just run harder and faster than she ever had before, and as such, she was shattered. However, she was still able to warn some other hikers that she came across along the way. She tried to warn them not to go up the trail so that they do not have the same encounter that she just essentially survived, but unfortunately, they would not listen. If anything, they probably looked at the frazzled woman and thought maybe she was just overreacting. Maybe she just ran into a bear, and if that was the case, they have run into bears many times, so they had nothing to worry about. Too scared to stay there anymore, the hiker left the others. She had warned them enough. She even risked looking like a crazy person by telling them that she really did believe that she had run into the Sasquatch out there.
They're not a herd of elk. They're not a pod of whales. They're hominids that are intelligent, and they don't want to be seen. They're not going to be seen. Most instances are accidental when we have witness sightings.
They won't listen, and as such, she was not going to waste any more time with these guys. Instead, she felt her time was better spent letting the authorities know what was out there. When she did run into them, she did her best to tell them about her encounter. She even went as far as letting them know that it was a Sasquatch that she saw out there. Alas, just like the other hikers, they took her account with a pinch of salt. In fact, they even started searching her so that they could see if she had taken any substances that may be averse to her. Spotting that she would not be taken seriously, our hiker simply gave up trying to tell the authorities about what happened. Instead, our hiker decided that it may be best for her to make her way home. She was still shaken by the experience, and that feeling didn't even let up when she was eventually within the safety of her home. However, over time, she was able to calm down to the point where she began to feel like she had just woken up from an unbelievable dream. Eventually, her thoughts did fall on the legend of the Sasquatch and all the missing people that may be out there due to this strange and mysterious creature. Then her mind went to how this creature tried to attack her with the rock, like some sort of primitive version of a human being. She came to the conclusion that the rocks that almost smashed her head to bits must have been the same sort of rocks that this violent creature used to attack people that came too close to it. They probably never even saw the rock coming. Tragic stuff, especially as these rocks must have surely led to the demise of a good number of people who only went into nature to enjoy the splendor of these landscapes. Looking at how the barks of the tree shot off it, there is no denying that it was a powerful creature that threw those rocks at her. She must have even gone to try it out for herself, because she has gone on record to say that she wasn't capable of throwing such a big rock with such force. She was definitely certain that no other normal human could throw the rock with such force, not even an Olympic-level athlete. This also took her mind to those peoples who lived on these lands long before the Europeans landed on the continent. According to the account of the Native Americans, at least the accounts they left behind, these Sasquatches have been known to have a history of hunting. There are even accounts that tell us how these creatures have gone as far as eating 1 or 2 humans in their time. Pretty grim stuff for any Bigfoot enthusiast out there. This made our friend wary enough to look for a way to defend herself from this powerful creature, maybe even kill it. With that in mind, she was only left to wonder about how many people this creature could have killed before they even knew it. What she did know is that she was shaken by the entire experience. Sure, she has been able to overcome her fear of going back out there, but she knows she will never go out there without a satellite phone again. She had barely survived an encounter with Bigfoot, and she will not be caught lacking next time. Not with this strange creature lurking within the shadows of the woods. No, she knows Bigfoot is out there, potentially snuffing out the lives of people before they even realize what is going on. She will not be caught unaware by the legendary creature that is Bigfoot. From not even believing in the legend of this fabled creature to barely surviving an encounter with the giant bipedal beast, here is how this woman learned the shocking truth about how Bigfoot kills humans.